How to command your mind and create wealth. They told you the greatest battle in life is out there, in the marketplace, in the boardroom, in the economy. But the truth is, the greatest war you will ever fight is not with the world, it is with your own mind. Because the mind is both a throne and a prison. It can be the architect of your destiny, or the jailer of your potential. Wealth, true wealth, does not begin with dollars, gold, or possessions. It begins with command of thought. Every empire, every invention, every fortune was first a flicker in the imagination of a single mind that refused to bow to circumstance. Thomas Edison did not stumble into the electric light by luck, he wrestled with failure over 10,000 times. What carried him through was not the materials in his lab, but the belief in his mind. Henry Ford was laughed at when he dared to dream of an automobile for the masses. They called it foolish, they called it impossible. Yet Ford commanded his mind, held firm to his vision, and turned steel and rubber into the backbone of an industry. These men understood what so many never will, that the mind, once directed with clarity and conviction, bends the world to its will. But look around today. Millions wake each morning as prisoners of their own thoughts. They replay doubts like a broken record. They allow fear to dictate their choices, envy to poison their ambitions, distraction to steal their hours. They wait for opportunity, never realizing they already hold the most powerful engine of opportunity between their ears. If you cannot command your mind, you will forever be commanded by circumstance. So how do you seize this command? It begins with awareness. You must recognize the enemy within, the voice that whispers you are not enough, that wealth is for others, that the world is stacked against you. That voice is not truth. It is conditioning, built by years of repetition, by failures you've clung to, by fears you've inherited from those who settled for less. The first act of mastery is to silence that voice, not with denial, but with discipline. Each time doubt rises, you replace it with vision. Each time fear tempts retreat, you replace it with action. Understand this, wealth is not merely the accumulation of money. It is the abundance of mind, the richness of discipline, the overflow of purpose. Money is only a reflection of the invisible foundation within. A man who commands his mind can lose everything, yet rise again. A man without command can win the lottery and lose it all within years. Wealth is first mental, then material. Think of Andrew Carnegie, who built an empire of steel not because he was born wealthy, he was not, but because he disciplined his mind to see value where others saw only iron. Think of Walt Disney, who was told his ideas were childish fantasies, yet commanded his imagination so fiercely that he reshaped culture itself. These men prove a simple law: when you master the inner world, the outer world yields. But command does not come by wishing. It comes by training. The mind must be drilled like a soldier, conditioned like an athlete, sharpened like a blade. You cannot allow it to drift into weakness, for a drifting mind becomes a drifting life. Ask yourself, what thoughts do I tolerate? What stories do I replay? What images fill my imagination before I sleep? These are not idle musings, they are the blueprint of your destiny. Clarity is the first weapon. If you do not know where you are going, the mind has nothing to obey. You must define the vision of wealth with precision. What it looks like, feels like, what impact it will have. Not vague wishes, but a definite picture. The mind thrives on command, not on uncertainty. When you give it a clear order, it rallies every faculty to achieve it. But when you feed it confusion, it drifts, it doubts, it delays. Discipline is the second weapon. Every day you must direct your thoughts toward your vision, even when the world mocks you, even when results seem invisible. Repetition engraves command into the subconscious. Just as water carves canyons through stone, disciplined thought carves new identities, new habits, new realities. Do not mistake persistence for waiting, it is active, forceful, relentless. It is Edison testing one more filament. It is Ford refusing to abandon the assembly line. It is you, holding the vision when every distraction begs you to quit. And then comes belief, the iron shield of command. To believe is to see before it exists. Every fortune began in the unseen. When you hold belief long enough, strong enough, it becomes reality. Doubt kills dreams faster than failure ever could. But belief, unyielding belief, turns even failure into fuel. Abraham Lincoln lost election after election, yet his belief forged the resilience that carried him to the presidency. Command your mind with belief, and the storms of life cannot break you. Wealth is not a stroke of fortune, it is an identity you create. And that identity is forged in the furnace of your mind. You cannot command riches if you cannot first command the thoughts that shape your actions. Every habit you hold, every choice you make, flows downstream from your thinking. If the mind is poisoned with limitation, the actions will shrink to match it. But if the mind is flooded with vision, with purpose, with unshakable clarity, the actions become unstoppable. Look at the great industrialists, inventors, leaders. Their wealth was not simply in what they did, but in who they became. Henry Ford was not just a man who built cars, he became the embodiment of efficiency, persistence, and vision. Andrew Carnegie was not just a steel magnate, he was the incarnation of expansion and possibility. They understood that wealth is a mirror, what you command within will eventually reflect without. To create this inner command, you must first take inventory of your life. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, what thoughts dominate my days? What emotions govern my nights? Do you spend your hours replaying failures, envying others, waiting for a chance that never comes? Or do you spend them envisioning a greater self, constructing bold plans, taking courageous steps? Most people live as spectators in their own lives, but you are not most people. If you are listening to this, it is because something in you is ready to stop watching and start commanding. Discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. It is the freedom to rise above distraction, to silence the noise of the world, to live not by default but by design. Imagine a general on the battlefield. If his soldiers wander aimlessly, the battle is lost before it begins. But when he commands them with clarity, unity, and focus, even the most powerful enemy can be overcome. Your mind is that army. Without discipline, it scatters. With discipline, it conquers. And discipline begins with the small things. The morning you rise when comfort tells you to sleep. The book you read when others waste their hours in gossip. The vision you write when others scroll aimlessly through endless distraction. Every act of discipline is a brick laid in the fortress of your new identity. Do not despise the small things, for they are the seeds of wealth. A single seed of thought, planted with persistence, can grow into a forest of fortune. Purpose is the fire that sustains command. Without purpose, wealth becomes hollow, a castle built on sand. But with purpose, wealth becomes a fortress, unshakable in storms, overflowing with meaning. Ask Carnegie why he built his empire, and he would tell you it was not just for profit, but to create libraries, to spread knowledge, to lift generations beyond poverty. Ask Walt Disney why he risked everything again and again, and he would tell you it was to bring joy to millions, to ignite imagination in a weary world. Purpose transforms money into legacy. And you must discover your purpose. It does not need to be grand at the beginning. Perhaps it is to free your family from debt. Perhaps it is to create a business that outlives you. Perhaps it is to prove to yourself that you are more than the limitations placed upon you. Whatever it is, seize it. Define it. Write it until it burns into your soul. Purpose is the compass, without it, wealth drifts into vanity. With it, wealth becomes destiny. Action is the proof of command. A man may dream of fortune, may speak of success, may think of abundance, but unless he acts, it is fantasy. The difference between dreamers and builders is action. Walt Disney was not the only man with imagination. Edison was not the only man with ideas. Ford was not the only man with vision. But they acted. They commanded their thoughts until their hands moved, until their feet stepped, until their voices spoke, until the world could not ignore them. Action is where command of the mind becomes command of destiny. Every time you act on your vision, no matter how small, you are engraving a new identity. When you discipline yourself to move forward, when you choose progress over paralysis, you are training your subconscious to obey your command. And soon, action becomes instinct. Success becomes habit. Wealth becomes natural. Yet, you must remember, the path is not smooth. Obstacles will come. Failure will strike. critics will laugh. But resilience is the armor of command. Wealthy men are not those who never fall, they are those who refuse to stay down. Abraham Lincoln was defeated in elections again and again before he rose to the highest office. Edison failed thousands of times before one bulb lit the world. Their resilience was not born of luck, but of command, the decision to rise again no matter the weight of defeat. Resilience is not merely survival, it is transformation. Each setback is a hammer striking the steel of your character. Each failure is a chisel carving you into the person capable of holding wealth. Do not curse the struggle, it is the very fire that forges greatness. Adaptability is the secret weapon of every commander of the mind. The world will not bend itself neatly to your plans. Markets shift, technology evolves, circumstances change in the blink of an eye. Those who cling rigidly to yesterday's methods are swept aside like leaves in the storm. But those who master adaptability, those who see change not as a threat but as an invitation, become unstoppable. Think of the great inventors and entrepreneurs who rose to wealth. They did not ride on a single unchanging idea, they adapted. Henry Ford began with the Model T, but when the world demanded more, he evolved his vision, refining processes and scaling efficiency. Walt Disney began with a cartoon mouse, but he adapted into films, theme parks, and beyond. Adaptability is not compromise, it is evolution. It is the art of staying true to your vision while adjusting your path to reach it. Your mind must learn to bend without breaking. Like bamboo in the wind, it withstands the storm not by resisting, but by yielding and springing back stronger. When setbacks arise, ask not, "Why me?" but "What now?" When opportunities vanish, ask not, "Why did it leave?" but "Where is the next one?" The commander of the mind is not a slave to circumstance, he is the sculptor of it. Gratitude is the power that transforms command into joy. For what is wealth if it robs you of peace? Many have millions yet live in misery because they never learned gratitude. Gratitude sharpens vision. It allows you to see abundance even in times of lack. It keeps you humble in success and resilient in failure. Andrew Carnegie, even at the height of his fortune, was known to express daily thanks for the opportunities that came his way. Lincoln, in his darkest hours, gave thanks for the lessons of struggle. Gratitude is not passive, it is active command of perspective. Each morning, when you choose to list the blessings you have, your mind becomes a magnet for more. Each night, when you reflect on what went right, no matter how small, you engrave into your subconscious the truth that life is for you, not against you. And when wealth arrives, as it surely will, you will hold it not with clenched fists, but with open hands, ready to use it for purpose. Learning is the unending discipline of every master of wealth. A mind that ceases to learn is a mind that ceases to grow. The fortunes of yesterday crumble when their owners refuse to adapt through knowledge. But the fortunes of tomorrow belong to those who never stop learning. Edison devoured knowledge like fire. Ford studied relentlessly. Carnegie surrounded himself with mentors and thinkers greater than himself. And here lies a paradox: the more you command your mind, the more you must submit it to growth. Pride whispers, "I know enough." But mastery whispers, "I am always a student." The wealthy are not those who boast of what they know, but those who hunger for what they can still learn. Every book you read, every mentor you listen to, every lesson you apply, these are the compounds that turn mental command into material fortune. But knowledge alone is not enough. Applied knowledge is the cornerstone of wealth. It is not the book that changes your life, but the decision to act on it. It is not the advice that transforms your business, but the discipline to implement it. The commander of the mind does not hoard wisdom, he wields it like a sword. Resilience, adaptability, gratitude, learning, all of these converge into one higher mastery, vision beyond self. The greatest wealth builders did not merely accumulate for their own comfort. They created empires, industries, legacies that outlived them. Why? Because they understood that true command of the mind expands beyond the individual, it shapes the world. Carnegie poured his fortune into libraries and education. Disney created worlds where imagination could flourish. Ford transformed industries so families could thrive. Their vision transcended personal gain, and in doing so, their wealth multiplied. When your vision is only for yourself, it will wither in the weight of selfishness. But when your vision serves humanity, it taps into an endless reservoir of power. The commander of the mind does not ask, "What can I take?" He asks, "What can I build? What can I give?" For in giving, he receives tenfold. In building, he is remembered. In serving, he commands not just his mind, but the minds of generations to come. This is why purpose is so critical. Without it, wealth becomes an empty chase, a game of numbers that never satisfies. But with it, wealth becomes a tool, a force, a current of good that shapes destinies. And when your mind is aligned with such a vision, every fiber of your being rallies to fulfill it. The distractions lose their power. The critics lose their sting. The failures lose their permanence. You are no longer pulled by the past, you are propelled by the future. And yet, let us not forget, command is a daily practice. It is not won in a single victory, nor lost in a single defeat. It is forged in the small, unseen moments, when you rise with intention, when you resist despair, when you act with courage, when you choose gratitude over complaint. Each moment is a command issued to your subconscious, and each command is a step toward wealth. The mind is the soil, and wealth is the harvest. But the soil does not yield its riches to the lazy or the careless. It answers only to those who cultivate it daily, who command it with persistence, who plant seeds of vision, water them with discipline, and shield them with resilience. Wealth is not the miracle, it is the natural fruit of a mind under command. Consider the farmer. He does not question whether the harvest will come, he knows it will, because he follows the law. He plants in season, tends his fields, waits with patience, and reaps in due time. So it is with wealth. Command your mind, obey the law of persistence, and the harvest cannot be denied. The seed does not sprout in an instant, but it grows in silence, beneath the surface, invisible until the day it breaks through the soil. Many abandon their vision before it breaks the surface, never realizing that the roots of greatness were already forming. This is where faith becomes the final command. Faith is the ability to see what does not yet exist, to trust the process, to believe in the harvest even when the field looks barren. Faith carried Lincoln through defeat. Faith carried Edison through failure. Faith carried Disney through bankruptcy. And faith will carry you through the silent seasons, when nothing seems to be working, when the world tells you to quit, when your own doubts whisper that it is over. Command your mind with faith, and the barren field becomes a promised land. But let us be clear, faith is not idle hope. It is not waiting with folded hands for fortune to fall from the sky. Faith is active. It is the decision to rise again. It is the courage to keep building. It is the refusal to surrender to despair. Faith is not blind, it sees beyond. It sees not only what is, but what can be. And once wealth arrives, as surely as the harvest comes, you must guard against complacency. Many build fortunes only to watch them crumble because they forgot the very principles that created them. They abandon discipline. They neglect gratitude. They stop learning. And slowly, their command slips, their vision fades, their wealth evaporates. Command is not a destination, it is a lifelong practice. The true commander of the mind never ceases to sharpen his blade. He remains humble in victory, alert in abundance, vigilant in prosperity. He does not rest on yesterday's triumphs, he plants new seeds for tomorrow's harvest. He knows that wealth without growth becomes stagnation, and stagnation becomes decline. The river of fortune flows only to those who keep its waters moving. So what does it mean, in the deepest sense, to command your mind and create wealth? It means to take full ownership of your inner world, to no longer surrender to doubt, fear, or distraction. It means to live with clarity, discipline, purpose, and action. It means to rise when you fall, to adapt when the world shifts, to give thanks in all things, to learn without end, and to serve with vision greater than yourself. This is not a philosophy for the few, it is a law for the many. You were not born to drift through life, to bow before circumstance, to accept poverty of thought or spirit. You were born with the same mind that Edison held, the same imagination that Disney carried, the same persistence that Lincoln wielded. The question is not whether you are capable. The question is whether you will command it. Picture this moment as the turning point of your life. Imagine looking back years from now and realizing this was the hour you took control. The hour you stopped being the prisoner of doubt and became the commander of destiny. The hour you stopped replaying failures and began scripting victories. The hour you stopped chasing wealth and began creating it from within. Command is not given, it is taken. And today, you must take it. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, not when the economy shifts. Now. Because the world does not wait, and neither should you. Wealth is waiting on the other side of your decision. So rise. Command your mind with clarity. Command it with discipline. Command it with purpose. Command it with belief, with resilience, with gratitude, with faith. Issue the order, I will create wealth. I will rise above circumstance. I will master my thoughts, my habits, my destiny. And do not let that command falter until the vision becomes reality. Because one day, the world will look upon you and see not the struggles you endured, but the empire you built. They will call you fortunate, lucky, blessed. But you will know the truth, wealth was never luck, it was command. And when you reach that summit, when the fortune is in your hands, when the dream is no longer a dream but a living reality, you will smile, not because of the riches, but because you mastered the greatest wealth of all. The wealth of a commanded mind. History remembers those who commanded themselves before they commanded the world. The kings of industry, the leaders of nations, the visionaries of invention, all began with a single inner decision: I will master my mind, or my mind will master me. And that choice changed the trajectory of their lives. Think of Rockefeller, who rose from humble beginnings to shape the oil industry. He was not born into abundance. He forged it, with clarity and patience sharper than steel. Think of Steve Jobs, who returned to a company that had abandoned him and transformed it into one of the greatest empires of innovation. He did not merely build machines, he commanded ideas, aesthetics, and belief until the world itself bent toward his vision. These stories are not exceptions, they are evidence. Evidence of the universal law: command the mind, and you command destiny. Now ask yourself, what empire waits inside you? What invention, what business, what legacy is trapped in the prison of hesitation, locked away by fear, suffocated by distraction? Perhaps you have carried it for years, the dream to start, to build, to create, to lift others higher. Perhaps it whispers in your quiet moments. Perhaps it burns in your chest at night when the world is asleep. That whisper, that fire, is your wealth begging to be born. And the only barrier is command. The enemy is not the competition. It is not the economy. It is not the government, nor your family, nor your past. The enemy is the wandering mind, the thought that says later, the doubt that says not me, the fear that says I can't. Slay that enemy, and the gates of fortune swing wide. Do not underestimate the power of small victories. Commanding your mind is not about one great leap, but about thousands of choices, stacked day after day, until identity itself changes. The man who goes from broke to wealthy is not transformed in a single instant. He is reborn each time he chooses vision over despair, action over hesitation, resilience over surrender. Each time you win that inner war, the outer world shifts in your favor. Wealth is not a mystery. It follows law as gravity does. The law is this: what you think, you become. What you focus on, you attract. What you discipline, you multiply. Your mind is the architect, and your world is the blueprint. Wealth is simply the completed structure. But structures take time. You must lay the foundation deep, or the walls will collapse. The foundation is clarity, discipline, purpose, and belief. You pour it daily with repetition. And though progress is unseen at first, the structure is rising. Brick by brick, thought by thought, action by action, until one day, the world sees what you already knew was there. Do not be deceived by appearances. Many look wealthy but are hollow within. Their minds are scattered, their peace gone, their joy empty. That is not true wealth, it is a mirage. True wealth is abundance in mind and spirit first. It is strength under pressure. It is faith in trial. It is gratitude in victory and in loss. When the inner world is commanded, the outer world cannot shake it. And so, the call upon you today is not merely to chase wealth but to create it from within. To take the reins of your wandering thoughts and direct them toward vision. To discipline your actions until they carve new destiny. To ignite your purpose until it fuels every decision. To believe so fiercely that no failure can smother it. To rise resilient, to adapt boldly, to learn endlessly, to give generously. This is the path of the commanders of history, and it is the path before you now. You stand at the crossroads, on one side, the path of drift, of doubt, of mediocrity, where your mind is commanded by fear and your wealth is left to chance. On the other side, the path of command, of clarity, of abundance, where your mind is master and your wealth is inevitable. Which path will you choose? There will never be a perfect moment, never a flawless opportunity, never a world free of obstacles. The perfect time is an illusion, and those who wait for it die waiting. Command begins in the imperfection of now. Command begins in the decision you make this very moment to stop surrendering, to stop drifting, to stop delaying. So stand tall. Speak it with conviction. I am the commander of my mind. I am the creator of my wealth. My thoughts obey my vision. My actions obey my purpose. My destiny obeys my command. Say it until your doubts tremble, until your fears scatter, until your subconscious bends under the weight of your determination. And then, prove it. Rise tomorrow earlier than you did today. Focus longer. Work harder. Learn faster. Adapt quicker. Give thanks louder. Act bolder. Do not simply speak the command, live it. Let your life itself be the evidence that you have taken mastery of the one power that shapes all others. One day, when the world looks upon the fortune you have built, the legacy you have carved, the life you have designed, they will say, "How did you do it?" And you will smile, for the answer is simple. You did not wait. You did not drift. You did not surrender. You commanded. And in commanding your mind, you commanded your destiny. In mastering your thoughts, you mastered your wealth. In becoming ruler of yourself, you became ruler of fortune. That is the ultimate wealth, that is the eternal power, that is the unbreakable law. Command your mind, and create your wealth. The time is now. The power is within. And the world is waiting.